This man was named Li Yi. He is a seasoned interdimensional miner. His daily job is to wear a hazmat suit and risk his life mining energy stones in another dimension. One of his colleagues said that the current month wasn't bad, and at that pace, he'd be able to pay off his parents' debt in a year or so. They guy added that if Yi would work in another 3 to 5 years, he could even afford a small apartment. Yi simply replied that he'll keep working hard, but in his head, he cursed at this heartless capitalist. The moment he clears the debt, he'll leave at once. Working another 3 to 5 years? He wouldn't do that. In his mind, they should be the one. Exposure to radiation in the interdimensional zone gives normal people a 1 in 1,000 chance of awakening, but it's also fatal. If not for their own circumstances, no one would put on a hazmat suit and work in the other world. While they rode the vehicle, the two guys in front of Yi gossiped about him. They knew him as the guy whose parents died in an accident 3 years ago, and not only did he receive compensation, he was also forced into debt. One guy knew that back then, NG Corporation insisted that his parents caused a $1 million loss. He felt bad for the kid. The other guy replied that there's nothing to pity because it was the kid's fault, since he's weak. He added that if it was him, he'd fight to death to make the corporation pay up. The guy joked that he thought the man would make them pay for their lives. The man replied that there's no point since those people are already dead, so he might as well just make some cash. He heard it all, especially the part when they called him weak. In his mind, there are times that the person becomes weak not because of themselves, but because the world is insane. When everything was ready, it was time for them to work. They thought there was a cave-in when the ground shook. One guy called them out for screaming just because of a minor tremor, but the guy replied that he had never heard of earthquakes in other dimensions. Another guy added that he never heard of it either, despite being in a lot of zones already. They wondered if it was caused by monsters. They suggest not working there, especially when the place had interdimensional humanoids before. Those monsters are even tougher than the Bug and Beasts clans. They agreed to stop working since it's too dangerous. The guy in charge told them to shut up. He clarified that the area was cleared by an awakened one 3 years ago, so there's no way humanoids would appear. He threatened them that if they said another word, he'd do something. But he was stabbed before he could even finish his sentence. They were all surprised when the supervisor got hit. Our MC froze in place. The supervisor coughed blood. The interdimensional humanoid arrives. They ran as the interdimensional humanoids chased after them. A lot of them were already hit. Yi knew that they were over 10 kilometers from the exit. He doubted that they would really be able to escape. It was totally beyond their ability to handle. His colleague was thrown at him and hit his back. They both crashed into a boulder. Yi coughed from the pain. When he got up, the others started the car already. He begged them to take him with them, but the car drove away. An interdimensional humanoid jumped on the car, and its claws pierced through the ceiling. The driver and the passenger were taken away, and the truck overturned. Yi realized that the interdimensional humanoids went after the people in the truck. Eventually, the truck exploded. He was surprised. The interdimensional humanoids were caught in the explosion, and they screamed in pain. Yi realized that their weakness is fire. He saw some wood burning near him, and he thought that it was worth a try. One interdimensional humanoid attacked from the right. He immediately went for the burning wood. He grabbed it and waved it in front of the interdimensional humanoid, hoping that it would leave. And just as he thought, it hesitated to approach him. He told everyone that those creatures are afraid of fire. 10 years ago, mysterious gates suddenly appeared all over the world. Insectoids, beasts, and humanoids from other dimensions poured onto Earth through the gates. Only awakened advanced beings who had mutated through radiation had the power to fight these monsters. The appearance of advanced beings not only gave humanity the power to close the gates, it also opened a new era of exploration and development of otherworldly energy sources. But unfortunately, those miners aren't advanced beings. They were just ordinary people, and simply surviving in the world takes everything they have. Against the monsters from the gates, they don't even have the strength to run. They gathered as much flammable stuff as they could to ward off the interdimensional humanoids. One man was worried because the torch wouldn't last much longer. Yi suggested that there's gasoline in the storage room, and they might be able to use the fire to block the entrance until rescue arrives. They stood back to back, formed a circle, and retreated slowly. They were doing well as they approached the drums of gasoline. Once within reach, Yi yelled at them to quickly pour it at the entrance. They kicked the cans and threw their torches to light fire. The torch fell into the gasoline near the foot of an interdimensional humanoid, and that interdimensional humanoid got burned. An old man thanked Yi, because if not for him, they would be dead. Since he saved his life, they promised him that if he ever needs anything, they'll give it to him. Yi noticed something behind him. There was a large statue. The guy beside him shared that they found it a long time ago in the mine. He assumed that Supervisor Wang planned to smuggle it and sell it on the black market. That's why it was there. Yi replied that it looked like it had been around for years. Suddenly, a voice came through the radio. They were glad to hear from them. They reported that their sector, Sector 7, had been attacked by humanoids and urgently needed rescue. The headquarters confirmed their report and told them that rescue will arrive in approximately 2 hours. They begged for them to come sooner, but the line was cut off, and only static noise was left. They got worried since their suits only have enough energy for another hour and a half. Some of them expressed that they didn't want to die because they have a wife and kid waiting for him at home. One of them regretted not driving out even if only one makes it through. He thinks it's better than waiting to die. Yi checked his arm. He prayed for rescue to get there soon since his suit power is already low. One of their colleagues called everyone's attention and stated that since their suits won't last until rescue arrives, someone will have to make a sacrifice. And he suggested that it should be old folks and orphans. The man stated that Yi doesn't have attachments and was buried in debt, so he concluded that living was just suffering for him. Then he suggested that Yi just give up his suit battery. They hit him with a plank and dared him to fight back. Yi fell to his knees because of the pain. They dared him to resist. Then the man choked him while telling him that if he gets exposed to radiation, he'll awaken, so he was just giving him a helping hand. The other one added that if Yi awakens, he'll become their savior. Yi crawled to get his mask. He told them that if he awakens, the first person he'll kill is them. They mocked him for thinking that he would be lucky. They grabbed his battery. After with Yi, they called someone else to be the next one. A guy pushed the other two as a sacrifice. The two bullies chased after him when he tried to run away. He climbed on the truck. He yelled at them that if they died, they would die together. He started the truck and the statue and its lost balance, and it fell. They all chased after him to stop him, since if he breaks through the fire barrier at the entrance, they were all done for. They panicked when the guy broke through the entrance and the humanoid started coming in. Yi was left there on the ground. The statue fell in front of him. Our boy looked at the statue and asked if it was laughing. It was as if he was being mocked by it. Lo and behold, this statue really had this sinister grin on its face. And boy, oh boy, it reminded me of the statue from Solo Leveling. But a few seconds later, an interdimensional humanoid appeared and stepped on the statue. And it was about to grab Yi. Yi questioned why he had to endure it all. The hand of the humanoid pierces his torso. He thought of the times he was being ridiculed, like when his parents died and the relatives didn't want to raise him, or the time he was thrown out of his house because he can't pay rent, or the debts were passed on to him. Some established people came to him and threatened him when he wanted to investigate his parents' death. The complaint letters that he sent out just ended up in the corporation's hands. He didn't want the compensation. Instead, he sought the truth. The man decided to give it to him. He was informed that his trash parents violated regulations and caused the accident. Not only are they not compensating, they sued him for the millions they cost the company. He closed his fist. The man kicked him in the face while telling him that he should have just signed the compensation agreement and taken tens of thousands, and none of that would have happened had he not insisted on the truth. The man was annoyed with him since he's now in charge of collecting his debt, which has $30,000 a month interest, and the principal amount should be paid in 3 years. He told Yi that he'll send someone on the 15th of each month, and if he doesn't have the money, he should expect them to treat him roughly. Yi looked pitiful, so the man told him that he'll give him a way out. He suggested that he becomes an interdimensional miner, since it's the only job where he might have a chance to repay his debt. Back to the present time, Yi stated that he's dead either way, so if he dies, he won't make it easy for them. He didn't mind that he's weak and refused to die quietly. He bit the monster with all his might. The interdimensional creature threw him away. As his consciousness fades away, he thinks of how disgusting the stench of the beast. A shadow figure stated that he thought Yi would unlock some kind of potential, but it turns out it was just pointless struggle before death. He replied that at least he did something unlike him, a statue crushed to pieces by that beast like it was nothing. The statue told him that he's the only one who can save him if he obediently hands over his body to him. Yi replied that he's not interested. He'd rather die than be controlled, especially by an ugly freak. The statue laughed out loud that he'd rather die than submit. He called Yi a fool for thinking that he had the right to refuse. The shadow system was activated. The interdimensional humanoid who attacked Yi was surprised. The shadow made it kneel. The statue had possessed Yi's body, and it was taking its revenge on the interdimensional humanoid that stepped on him. The giant shadowish creature stepped on it. At this point, our boy had been fully engulfed by the shadow armor. An interdimensional humanoid roared from behind it. He got annoyed that it was too noisy. A shadow appeared on the ground, and it swallowed the interdimensional humanoid. The next target was slashed. Yi really hated the disgusting smell of this beast. And as for the human trash, he binds them. They got scared of him. The statue was curious what Yi would do if he gave him his body back. They begged Yi to spare them. They reasoned that they were just trying to survive, and added that without them, Yi wouldn't have awakened. They uttered that they were a little harsh to awaken him. He asked if now he has to be thanking them all. Those men replied that there's no need to thank them and suggested that they pretend that nothing happened while he lets them free. Yi replied that not only will he let them go, he will also help them go out. He took their masks, which made those men cough blood. Once he was done with that, he approached the others. One of the guys reasoned that he didn't do anything. Unexpectedly, Yi gave them the batteries from the guys before. The statue whispered at Yi to put away his useless pity, because it will only get him killed. Yi told him to shut up since he doesn't need his preaching. The shadow challenges him to see if he's still that tough when he's on the brink of death. When he went out of the cave, he saw more humanoids. He didn't expect that there would be so many outside the cave. The shadow told him that he could hand over his body to him, or he could deal with the trash by himself. The shadow couldn't believe that his legs were already shaking from the simple rabble. The shadow reminded him that without his power, he was nothing. Yi jumped to avoid the attack while replying that he doesn't need his preaching. He kicked the claw of the humanoid. He noticed how light his body feels. The humanoid tried to slash him, while one of those creatures sneakily attacked from behind. He sensed it, and was able to dodge in time. He could tell that his reflexes and speed have increased a lot. The statue was mocked when he already had the shadow system, but he's still weak and pathetic. Yi gathered energy on his fist, and told him to shut up. The humanoid creature was blasted away when Yi punched it. He was confused when his power increased so much, but he also knew that just using his body to attack wasn't enough to hurt them. He wished he had a weapon. And as if on cue, shadows gathered on his palm. To his surprise, a dagger was formed out of the shadows. He used it to see if it was effective. He slashed it, and learned that he can kill hybrids too, which led him to think that he had awakened. A humanoid had landed a blow on his back. He immediately counterattacked and beheaded it. He was glad to finally have the power to fight back. Blood splattered on the ground. Yi laid there, breathing heavily. He killed all of those abnormalities. Then the system notified him that his evolution was successful. He is now at E rank. The next thing we know is that Yi lays on the hospital bed while the nurse and the doctor check on him. The nurse reported that he had no injuries at all, and all vitals are normal, so it was a puzzle why he hasn't woken up yet. The doctor replied that it's normal for an ascender, especially in Yi's case where his stamina is totally drained, so his body needed to adjust to the new level. The nurse got interested in Yi when she found out that he's an ascender. She asked what level he is. The doctor noticed how she got excited and replied that they'll find out when he wakes up. The doctor told her that they will go to the next room, but she wanted to stay a little bit longer to stare at him since she finds Yi handsome. Meanwhile, the shadow was bothered that what he possessed was a human, an E rank, no less. He expected that with his status and power, once Yi awakened, he should have been at least S rank or A rank, at worst, B rank. And yet Yi was stuck in an E rank shell. But still, he finds him interesting since, despite being an E rank, he actually triggered the power of the shadow system and formed a shadow on the first try. It was just too bad that he can't withstand a 10,000th of his power. Yi woke up and asked why he's clinging to him. The shadow informed this lowly human that he's the ancient supreme entropy extinguisher's ruler of the otherworld realms. He commanded him to offer him his body, and once he reclaimed his throne from the traitors of his clan, he'll reward him generously. Yi thinks he's just making up stuff. He added that there's no way he'd give his body to something ugly like a cockroach. The shadow was insulted. Then he urged Yi to offer his body at once, since that's the only reason he exists. Yi wondered why it had latched onto him, of all people. He considered the possibility of it being an evil spirit possession. Or perhaps it was simply enamored by his beauty. Given the person's seemingly unstable demeanor, Yi knew better than to provoke him. At one point, he even feared the man might try to force himself on him, something he thought he could handle. What truly unsettled him, however, was not knowing the entity's gender. He had a lot more intrusive thoughts, and it started to annoy the shadow. The shadow asked him what kind of nonsense he was thinking. It regretted having to choose that E-rank human being. If the situation hadn't been urgent, it would have picked an old dog over an E-rank trash. The shadow told him that he has 3 days, and if he doesn't reach D-rank within 3 days, he'd erase him completely. Yi got confused because from what he knew, he was in a hospital, and yet this shadow threw him in a portal. The shadow told Yi that he's in the insect nest, the E-rank trial of his race inside the gate of the other world. He told him that every Skyborn clan member can only attempt it once after reaching adulthood, and since he possessed Yi, it refreshed his trial count. A shielded armor beetle appeared. Yi was surprised that he knew that species. The shadow informed him that the shadow system that he was given reads from his knowledge base. He expected him to get used to it eventually. Our boy thought about the shadow system. Then he took out his dagger and slashed through it. He was surprised at how fast he was. The beetle hissed angrily. Yi knew its blind spot and targeted it. He jumped high so he could hit the beetle's back. After that, he landed behind it. The beetle immediately counterattacked. Yi had to pierce his dagger on the ground to find his footing. He didn't expect that its shell would be hard. The shadow called him useless. Then it asked if Yi only had brute force. Yi replied that how he fights is none of his business. The shadow warned him not to come begging for help when he lost. Yi was starting to get annoyed. He wondered if the beetle really has any weak points. It deflected his attacks and blasted him away. He crashed on a wall. He noticed a sticky liquid on his shoulder. The shadow told him to get up. Yi saw that it was from the beetle's cut, and it was its blood. He grinned when he finally found its weakness. The beetle attacked aggressively. Yi was determined to show who's the real coward. The shadow was surprised that he used Shadow Eye. He was able to cut some of the limbs. The shadow teased him by asking what was the point of breaking just one leg. Yi replied that without one of the front legs for defense, it will be much easier for him to hit its weak spot, and he needed to have a more effective weapon for that. He turned his dagger into a lance. He pierced the underside of the beetle to force it to get up. He knew the reason why the beetle was lying still, because its weak spot is its abdomen. He was exhausted, but he won. The beetle dropped a crystal. The shadow teased him for being out of breath from killing a mere E-rank shield bug. He suddenly felt a surge of power entering his body. He absorbed the crystal and realized it was an EXP pack. The system notified him of plus 0.2% to advance to D rank. The shadow notified him that it was an energy stone, and it has a chance to increase his ability level. He could sense that something was approaching, but he couldn't see anything. The shadow suggested that he use the Shadow Eye to look. He asked what the skill was. The shadow told him that he just needs to focus his shadow energy into his eyes to activate the Shadow Eye skill. He followed it and successfully activated his Shadow Eye level 1. The creature threw spikes at him. He almost got hit. When the spike got stuck on a rock, it emitted green, foamy substance. Yi asked what those darts were. He could sense the attack again. He was agile and flexible enough to evade it. He questioned if the Shadow Eye is defective because he couldn't see clearly. The shadow replied that it's not that it's ineffective, it was just because he's too weak. Upon hearing that, Yi decided to gather more energy. The shadow was amused that Yi, a tiny E-rank, can manipulate shadow energy so skillfully. Eventually, Yi saw that there's a warping sword bug, known as the Head Harvester, and the stinger launcher that specializes in ranged toxic stings. Those creatures are both in E-rank. The shadow could tell that he had already adapted to the knowledge base, but Yi saw that there's many of them. The monsters were everywhere. He remembered a human saying that when they see one cockroach, it means that there's already so much of it in the dark corners. The shadow praised him for finding a good position to avoid getting surrounded. He glared at them as he wielded daggers on both of his hands. Then he exudes a powerful energy while yelling at those monsters to get lost. The shadow was impressed that he already awakened the second form of the Shadow Eye. It was surprising since he was just an E-rank. In Shadow Eye Level 2, the shadow becomes his pupil, and every heartbeat of his enemy is a death knell. The system showed his stats. He's an E rank with a shadow system, and his abilities are Shadow Knowledge Base, Shadow Eye Level 2, and Shadow Transformation. He noticed that the bug's movement had slowed down. It was slowed down by at least a half. He could see some purple spots on its body and wondered if those are its weaknesses. The system notified him that the weakness had been recorded. The shadow told him that it's the benefit of his shadow eye reaching Tier 2. Once he spots the weak point, his attacks can break through its defense. He realized that those guys have their weak points underneath. He used an attack called Shadow Thorn Great Burial, where the shadow appeared from the ground and formed spikes that skewered the bugs. This technique basically drives shadows into the ground and then pierces upward, dealing area damage. The system continuously notifies him of his breakthrough progress. He realized that each projector only gives 0.7% breakthrough value. Since he figured out their weaknesses, he decided to wrap it up quickly. He decided to take them all out in one go. As he slashes through them, the system continuously informs him of his breakthrough progress. He didn't expect that just Shadow Eye Level 2 would boost his attack precision that much. Suddenly, a long green slender monster charges at him. The shadow acknowledged his fast reflexes, but it felt bad that his brain couldn't keep up. When he had taken a good look, he realized that it was a warp sword bug. The shadow was surprised that he morphed the shadow dagger into a whip. The bug hissed when he wrapped the shadow around it. He dared it to try jumping again, then he beheaded it. The weakness of this warp sword bug has been recorded by the system. The other bugs synchronously release their stingers at him. Yi made the shadow transform. Then he charges at them, targeting their butts. The system informed him of his D-rank breakthrough progress to be at 12.1%. He made several ropes out of the shadow and pulled down those warp sword bugs. The shadow commented that he's finally looking like someone who is worthy of the power, even if the pose is a bit ugly. The gift granted by the Eye of Shadows greatly boosts his senses, reflexes, strength, and control over shadows. Hence, the name Gift of Shadow Eye. His D-rank breakthrough progress has increased to 34.2%. But the gift of the Shadow Eye also consumes a massive amount of mental energy. It's the price demanded by the Eye of Shadow. The shadow could tell that Yi had reached his limit. Yi's vision blurred. He was slashed by a bug who sneaked behind him, but he refuses to fall there, especially when he finally has power to avenge himself. A timer at 15:28:42 appeared. Yi thought of those NG group bastards who dared to cover up the truth about his parents' deaths and shamelessly forced him to mine to repay the debt. His progress continued to grow even as time slipped away. But he pushed through, driven by the power he now held to change everything, and he vowed never to give up. He will avenge himself and drag those arrogant bastards down to hell. He vowed to make them kneel and repent at his parents' graves. At this point, his remaining time is 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and his D-rank breakthrough progress is 95.4%. The shadow had observed his hatred, which aligned so well with the shadow system. It even nourishes the shadow energy. The promised time was near, so he told him to hurry. The timer kept running until there was only 7 seconds left. The shadow noticed that Yi planned to release all that shadow energy at once. He asked if he's not scared that his body will explode. Only 3 seconds remained. It was just a little more till he break through and he'd do anything just to get stronger. 1 second left and he unleashed a powerful energy. Eventually, the timer had reached 0. He leapt so high while his sword gave out a powerful energy. In that single powerful strike, he defeated all those bugs and reached 100% D-level breakthrough rate. With that, he was promoted to D-level. He was exhausted. The shadow teased him that he barely made it, but now he'd call him Little D. He glanced at the corpses and saw a weapon. The shadow explained to him that the insect nest used to be a beginner trial field for his people. The dagger, in human standards, would be at a level. Yi was confused that he called it a dagger when it's a great sword. It made him ask if all of the shadow's people are giants. The shadow replied that compared to his energy, those weapons are nothing. Yi doesn't agree to that. He decided to store them away. The shadow asked him if it can be used for something else. He replied that he's going to sell it. But he knew that only D-level awakeners can sell equipment, so he planned to stop by at the registration hall first. At the hall, Yi couldn't believe that he ranked at E-level. The receptionist explained that even when his physical stats are decent, there's no detectable energy fluctuation, so he's rated at E-level. And the record showed that he's a minor, so E-level advanced gets a 15% salary increase. When they left the hall, Yi sarcastically uttered that the shadow system is unmatched. The shadow replied that it's the human's limited perception that can't detect shadow energy. Thinking about it, Yi realized that being undetectable is a good thing. But it makes selling gear a bit harder, at the black market where all shady things happen. The shadow commented that it's fitting for the shadow system. Yi walked inside quietly. The men gossiping didn't notice him at first until someone pointed it out. The shadow commented that humans are funny. They embed a few gems on some iron and call it divine gear. Suddenly, he feels sorry for Yi. A man shooed Yi away. He looked down on him for being a miner and assumed that Yi couldn't pay for anything. Yi asked him if that's how he treats his customers. The man doubted that he's a customer and questioned him on what he could even afford. Our MC told him that he doesn't want his stuff anyway. He uncovered the great sword and demanded that their appraiser see how much his sword is worth. A woman clinging to a man's arm appeared, and she questioned why he brought her to a stinky place. The man is Zhou Ting, a D level, and the woman is Su Qing, a civilian. The shopkeeper left Yi and went to entertain the young master Zhou. He asked him if he had something good to sell. Ting replied that he got a decent sword from the gate of the other world, and he planned to sell it so he could buy his girlfriend a new car. The shopkeeper recognized that it was a wind howl sword. The weapon comes with a boost attack. It was a hot item among D levels. Yi recognized Su Qing. She was horrified to see him. When his parents died and he didn't get any compensation, she left him. She was harsh on their last meeting. Ting asked her if she knew him. She denied knowing him and lied that he's a fan of her since she's an influencer. Ting got annoyed with Yi and insulted him by calling him trash. He told him that the junk collection site is at the end of the street, so he should just take his junk there before they close. He yelled at him to get lost. He attempted to attack Yi with the sword he's going to sell, but it hit the great sword instead. His eyes widened when he saw that his sword got shattered. Yi told him that it was his sword that was real junk. Jin asked how it happened when he told her that the sword cuts like mud and was worth a lot. Ting got annoyed and attacked Yi with a punch. Ye noticed that Ting was too slow. He sidestepped to avoid being punched. Ting commented that his skills aren't bad. He attacked again. He continues to attack while Yi swiftly evades all of it. In Yi's head, the attack is way slower than the trials in the insectoid nest. While Ting was starting to get annoyed since he thought Yi was just a miner, but then he couldn't even hit him, even though he's D rank. He tightened his fist. Yi formed his shadow with a whip and wrapped it on Ting's fist. Ting yelled at him that a miner should crawl back into the mine. He asked if a dog shouldn't crawl back on the surface. He yanked the shadow whip and made Ting fall on the ground. Qing got worried for him. Yi mocked him by saying that he's fond of being a dog. Ting's anger heightened and he charged at Yi. Unexpectedly, a man with 2 guards entered and told them to stop. Ting was surprised to see boss Wang. Wang is a D rank and the supervisor. He told Ting that even if he's a longtime customer, fighting in his shop is going a bit too far. Qing defended that the damned miner broke Ting's sword, that's why it led to that. The miner caught Wang's attention. He asked if Ting's weapon really got broken by his hand. Yi explained that it was him who attacked first, so if he broke his sword, it wasn't his fault. Wang asked him if that was really the case. Then he whispered that the sword in the kid's hand doesn't look ordinary. He asked if the same rule applies. Ting agreed to it since he'll get the money and the item for Wang. Wang told Yi that he'll act as a mediator. He asked if he could take a look at the sword first. When he grabbed it, he was surprised. The sword weighs over 100 pounds, and Yi had lifted it so easily. It made him wonder if Yi was an advanced one. He decided to test his limit first. He asked him where he got the weapon. Yi questioned them on when did the black market start checking owner IDs and item origins. He replied that he was just curious, and if Yi didn't want to say it, it was fine. Yi simply replied that he picked up the sword while mining. With that, Wang had confirmed that he's just a lowly miner. He checked the sword and stated that it was tough, but it has no added attributes. And at best, it's only worth a few hundred, whereas if Ting's sword wasn't broken, it would be worth over 2 million. Wang told him that since he's just a miner, life must have not been easy for him, so he'll just buy the sword for him. And he'll only have to compensate Ting with 2 million, and he'll cover the rest. He made it sound like he's doing Yi a favor. He stated that it was his good deed for the day. Then he asked Ting if he agreed. Ting accepted the condition since he stepped in. Qing told him that there's no way a miner could have 2 million, and she reminded him that he promised to buy her a car. Ting whispered to her that selling his organs will still get them 2 million. With that, Ching agreed to their plan. Yi could tell that they have it all planned out. Wang challenged him if he had a problem. He smirked and told them that the one with a problem wasn't just him. And then he started emitting the shadow's aura all around him. Wang's men attacked to cripple Yi. Wang stated that the pointless fight isn't worth his time. He suggested that they head to the waiting room and wait. Ting agreed to that, but to their surprise, a man went flying in front of them. Wang reminded this man named Biao to be careful, because if he breaks the merchandise, he won't be able to pay for it. Yi kicked the other 2 men. One went flying towards Ting. He kicked the man before he crashed into him. He commented that working the mines built up his strength. Yi told him that it's his turn. Ching wondered when he got good at fighting when he's a minor. Ting admitted that his moves aren't bad and he could take down a few nobodies. But he stated that in front of a D rank advanced, he's just still trash. Yi raised his hand and slapped the shit out of him. It angered him since not even his dad dared to hit his face. He vowed to kill him. He threw a beam on his way and Yi blocked it with just his hand. He deflected it so well. That made Ting confused about what's happening. He described that it was like there's an invisible wall. Yi told him that since his dad didn't hit him, he'd do the honors to teach this ungrateful brat a lesson. Ting was scared and yelled at him not to get any closer. Ching couldn't believe that Ting, a D rank advanced, could lose to a minor. Yi morphed the shadow into a spiderweb where Ting and Ching got caught in it. Ting realized that Yi wasn't just a minor. He asked if he's a C rank or B rank. He simply replied that he's an E rank minor certified by the guild. Ting couldn't believe that. He raised his hand, and Ting got nervous. Ting stated that he's a member of the Black Panther gang, and if he touches him, he'd be going against them. Yi knew that the gang was a loan shark. Ting replied yes. With that, Yi didn't hesitate to punch him continuously, while Ching screamed out loud. The impact of the punch blasted Ting to the wall. He coughed blood. Yi told them that he hated loan sharks the most. Wang attacked from behind. Yi pushed him away while telling him to get lost. Ting tried to settle the misunderstanding with 100,000 yuan. He asked if it meant that his face is only worth 2,000 per slap. Ting offered him 1 million just for him to stop slapping him. Yi knew they loved charging high interest, so he wanted that to apply to him too. He told him that the 50 slaps earlier were just the interest and now he's going to charge the principal. Ting showed him his black card and offered 5 million. He told him to take everything he got. Our MC saw that the card was an NG Group VIP card. He realized that the ones collecting the NG Group's debts and forcing him into the mines are people like him. After learning that, he decided to let Ting go and lure the snake from its hole. He took the card while saying that the Black Panther gang has squeezed millions out of him over the years, so with him taking the card, it was like returning the money back to its rightful owner. Ching helped Ting up while asking him if he was okay. He pointed out that she mentioned that he's just a minor. She reasoned that she had no way to know that she got powerful. He slapped her and blamed her for saying that he's a minor and causing him to let down his guard. He knew that his money wasn't easy to take. He called someone. The man on the other line just finished beating up people and answered his call. Ying called his brother Panther to tell him that he needs to stand up for him, because just recently someone stole the treasured sword that he was going to offer to him and even threatened to wipe out the Black Panther gang. Panther told him to send the guy's info. Panther's lackeys reported to him that they got the item. He also asked what they're going to do with those people. Panther asked him if there's any people there. They don't see those people as humans, so they replied no. And he cut up the bodies into pieces. Panther told the guy that the kid that Ting reported is his now. There was an entry on the Shadow Knowledge base, and it's about the NG Group. It is a massive multinational corporation and the main culprit behind the death of Yi's parents. The next day at the guild, a man approached Yi to ask if he could help him with anything. Yi answered that he's looking for a task that suits him, an E rank advanced. The other men who heard him told him that he's in the wrong zone since the lowest level of tasks in there are D rank. They laughed at him, saying that he's trying to get himself killed. Other people butt in, saying that it's funny that an E rank dared to talk big. One person added that E ranks survive from depending on them like parasites. They told Yi to leave and wait outside for teams that will need him. The crowd chimed in, saying that he should be at the entrance by the garbage pile since trash should stay trash. Yi was unhappy that the 5 million that he got was instantly taken away by those damned loan sharks. His priority now was to get a task. Someone walked in. and everyone felt an immense pressure. With that pressure, they estimated that the person was at least B rank. The aura of a B rank made it difficult for them to move. The woman had silver hair, cat ears, and a red aura around her body. Yi remained quiet while the others gossiped on why a B rank was there. In Yi's mind, despite the delicate aura, she looked like a rich girl, and he doesn't sense any killing intent. He wondered if she's just hiding it. He noted the contradiction of being ostentatious and restrained from her. A man with a black mask announced that the D-rank task at the Beast Abyss needs a D-rank advance to work as a miner. He asked if there's anyone interested. The crowd noticed Yi completely unfazed by the aura when their knees were already shaking. They expected that an E rank would have been down on the ground already, but Yi even took a step forward. Yi realized that he's the only one that way. The woman also noticed him completely unaffected, despite being a miner. The guild staff recognized the woman, Chin from the Longmen 3rd Street. He told her that he got a lot of D rank around. She declined and told him that she'd take Yi. The guild staff was surprised and informed her that it's against the rules since he hasn't queued up to register. She glared at him while telling him that she is the rule. She reiterated that she'll take him. The man had no choice but to reply yes. Yi followed her. The guild staff couldn't believe it since it was his first time seeing her personally choose someone. It made him wonder what the story of the miner was. A few hours later, a gigantic, muscular monster with horns appeared. The bard played his flute. In their party, they have frontliners, damage dealers, and support. It was a pretty balanced team. In Yi's mind, the Minotaurs aren't a big deal. He watched them fight and he could tell that they were in sync, especially that a B rank one led the team. He could tell that everything goes smoothly. But he used his shadow eye and found Minotaurs below that exceed D rank standards. He wondered why the others couldn't sense it. The shadow told him that his shadow eye has already reached tier 2, and his sensory perception far surpasses that of those trash. Yi knew that even if the others didn't sense it, the B rank rich girl should. He wondered if she noticed it and deliberately hid it for some reason. The bard reported to Chin that the starlight crystal vein that she's looking for was in there. She told the miner to come with her. Yi couldn't believe her. She knew that it was dangerous, but she dragged the miner along. As they kept going, Yi noticed that the ominous aura kept getting stronger. It made him wonder if she didn't care if the miner or her teammates died, or was it because she believes that her B rank power alone is enough to keep everyone alive? The ground shook. Then, out of nowhere, Yi and Chin fell on a pit. Luckily, they landed safely on the ground. Yi noticed something ahead. There was a D rank Minotaur beast man. I saw her draw her sword. He anticipated her move. Her red aura formed eyes in front of her, but she didn't budge. She retreated behind him and told him that she'd cover him so he should go. Yi had to remind her that he's just a miner. She blushed. Her knees weakened and she told him to get out there. Yi couldn't believe her. She's a B rank, but she won't fight and she expects him, an E rank, to handle it. Yi had no motivation to risk his life, especially when he gets miner wages only. But then she promised him $1 million if he takes them out. He replied that it was for the money's sake, that he'll force himself. He took out his dagger to take action. 3 Minotaurs attacked altogether. One of them engaged with him while the other 2 ran past him. They targeted Chin. That got Yi worried for his $1 million. She created a red aura around her and blasted them away. He didn't expect her to have a move like that. He admitted that he misjudged her. A Minotaur leapt towards her. Yi rushed to her aid and slashed the monster away. He teased her for having a face that attracts hatred, but when he checked on her, she's already running away. He cuts through the Minotaurs while telling her that she's hopeless. She was out of breath already from running so fast. She expected to be safe already, but little did she know, a Minotaur was behind her. She turned around and was surprised to see it. She wondered why it wasn't afraid of her. The Minotaur lifted its wooden weapon. Yi finds it strange that she's not fighting back when she clearly has the ability. Her bracelet glowed, and it created a barrier around her, and that blasted the Minotaur away. Her bracelet broke. Yi realized that it was a protective charm, and her move earlier wasn't from her own power. He asked her if she's a non-combat type advanced. She was embarrassed as she replied yes. She told him to keep it a secret. He replied that it will cost her an extra. More Minotaur arrived. He asked why it was only attacking her. Shadow Eye level 2 was activated. He saw a silhouette of someone. It actually masked its presence, that's why he didn't sense him first. The Minotaur's abnormal behavior was influenced by those strange fluctuations. Chin called out to him when a minotaur came close to her. He slashed its head. But he was in a pinch when more minotaurs gathered. He couldn't do area skills because Chin might have caught up in it. And if he didn't finish them all soon, he'd get worn down eventually. Since the target was Chin, he decided to give her to them. He told her that since both of her protective artifacts are used up and she's a non-combat type, she better be careful not to get ambushed. That embarrassed her. She couldn't believe that he said that out loud. A silhouette appeared behind her. The man unsheathes his knife. He was worried that a mere minor almost ruined his setup, but he still found his chance to kill her. The man wanted to hurt her because of her father. He slashed her. But before his attack landed, Yi already cut off his arm. All the while, Chin had no idea. That man was a bard. He was surprised. Yi informed Chin that the bard used infrasound to control the minotaurs to attack her. She was surprised that it was Ludin. Ludin laughed at his carelessness of falling into the hands of a minor. He told him that he hasn't won yet. He collected the red energy from the minotaurs. And he formed a gigantic red misty minotaur. He wanted to demonstrate how terrifying a control type can be. From the aura, Yi could tell he's a C-class. Chin was surprised that Ludin absorbed the beastman's life force to strengthen himself. Suddenly, lava appeared on the ground. She suspects that he's upgrading into a C-class lava minotaur. Yi couldn't believe that from D-class he immediately became a C-class. The chat was so wild that he felt inferior. A lava minotaur C-class appeared in front of Yi and Chin, who are both D-class. The minotaur roared loudly and attacked him. Yi blocked its attack by creating a barrier. Its next attack was a powerful explosion. It was his first time encountering the destructive power of C-class. It melted his barrier. Chin noticed that he received some burns. The minotaur raised its axe. Yi grabbed Chin's hand and dragged her away. She was surprised when the axe almost came close to her face, but then she realized it couldn't move. Its movement was restricted with the shadow rope. She asked Yi if he's a control type too. He told her that he can't restrict him for too long, so she better run. He instructed her to run as far as she could once she entered the labyrinth. She was confused that he's not coming with her. He replied that he had to buy her time to escape. She got worried for him. He told her to hide herself well, and he'll come find her soon. It's not that he personally cares about her, but to him, she's $1 million investment. Ludin, who became the lava minotaur, searched for him. Yi appeared behind him. He asked where he hid Chin. Then he attacked him with his axe. Yi suggested that he take a guess. He was taken aback that Yi appeared behind him and slashed his leg. But Yi was caught off guard. Because not even the cracks in the rock can be broken through. Ludin laughed at him for being stupid since he used a knife on a stone. Then he counterattacked with a punch. Yi had a hard time dealing with the large area of lava. He decided to lure him into an open space. He ran and Ludin chased after him. While Ludin charges forward, he asks if running is all he can do. Yi activated the Shadow Eye. He believes that no matter how strong he is, there is still a weak point. Ludin planned to kill him first, then he'll search for Chin. He yelled at him to die. Yi found his weak spot. He targeted that. He focused on it. Ludin told him that he knew what he's up to. He added that his little tricks are useless. Yi was overwhelmed with his incredible power. He couldn't believe that it was just C rank. Yi was backed on a wall and Ludin rushed straight towards him, but he just stood there waiting for the right moment. Ludin was amused that he's not running anymore. He also finds it funny that he's attempting to slash him again using daggers. He yelled that the piece of scrap metal could only tickle him. Yi waited for him to attack again. And he did, and it gave Yi the chance to target his weak spot. It was at the center of his back, but then it glowed brightly. Yi was caught off guard. The lava-like spot in his back was so hot that even the shadow energy can't fully block its heat. Yi commented that he's smarter than he thought. He realized that the guy knew how to protect his weak spot. Ludin had no idea how Yi figured it out, but he confirmed that it was his weakness. He was confident to share that, because knowing it doesn't help Yi at all since the spot has temperatures over 2,000 degrees Celsius. He bargained that if reveals where Chin was, he'd spare him his life. Yi replied that he doesn't trust traitorous scum who sell out their own. It angered Ludin. He yelled out loud, "You have a death wish!" Ludin attacked using his axe. He challenged Yi to stop dodging if got guts. Yi made his shadow morph into a chain blade. Ludin was caught off guard, so he teased him for dodging too. He found the chance and made the shadow morph into a rope. He targeted the weak spot. His shadow almost hit him, but it melted. He's starting to get annoyed. Meanwhile, Ludin laughed at his useless attempt. He told him to give up his useless struggle. Yi notices that he's burning through too much of his shadow energy. It wasn't a good state, so he wondered if he should ask Qingtian for help. He decided not to. He was firm that even if it kills him, he won't let him take control of his body again. In addition to that, he knew that if he killed this C rank, he'd gain tons of EXP, so it was a golden chance that he didn't want to waste. He went for the blind spot again. Yi strongly believes that he's able to break through. He gave it his all despite being burned. The tip of the dagger had touched the burning spot. Ludin yelled out loud. He was notified that HP was nearly depleted, and Berserk Rage was triggered. His attack, critical rate, and speed increased by 200%. Yi was confused as to why he suddenly went berserk. He was blasted away, which made him crash to a wall with a powerful impact. Ludin didn't expect that a filthy miner would push him that far. Yi was burned from his attacks. He decided to end their fight now. Unexpectedly, Yi felt something in his body. He had no idea why the shadow energy became stronger than before. Qingtian told him that the energy had always been in his body. It's just that his body couldn't draw it out before because it hadn't been tempered by extreme heat. He told him that he accidentally hit the jackpot and unlocked a new form of shadow energy. Yi notices that the shadow energy is healing his wounds. Qingtian informed him that it's more than just healing. Ludin noticed that too, and that his aura became creepier than before. He couldn't let him recover any further. Yi stepped back to avoid his attack. Ludin couldn't believe that he could keep up with his triple speed boost. It made him question if he's really just an E rank. He decided to flood the whole place with lava so he won't have anywhere to run. As the lava splashed throughout the area, Yi just stood there. Ludin was confident that the lava would turn him into ash. But to his surprise, Yi could stand in the lava without problems. He used shadow enhancement. The basic form was already strong, so it made him curious what the top level would be like. He teased Ludin by calling him Boiler Boy and telling him that the heat was too low. Ludin couldn't believe it. Yi pointed out how he was enjoying hacking and slashing until then. But now, it was his turn to counterattack. Yi charges again. He moved really fast, and it's because of the shadow enhancement in defense, strength, and speed, which increases those stats by 200%. Ludin couldn't believe his hand was gone. He cursed Yi. He decided to grab him, but his hand disintegrates with just one swing of Yi's daggers. He made a replacement hand using lava. He proudly announced that as long as there's lava, he can regenerate endlessly, and his attacks are completely useless. Upon hearing that, Yi's brows furrowed. He replied that he doubted that he could do that because his energy seems to be getting weaker. Ludin dared him to attack again to show it. Yi sliced his limbs and he challenged him to do it again and again. He didn't stop. To his surprise, he couldn't regenerate to his original state. He wondered how it was happening. Yi told him that his energy had reached its limit. He urged him to give up. Ludin reasoned with him that they don't have anything against each other, so there's no reason for them to fight to death. He agreed to that, but also reasoned that he's being paid by Qin to keep her safe. Ludin replied that money isn't a problem, because if he hands over Qin, and they're back in the city, he would give him more than what she offered. He's offering him 5 million. Yi knew that he would just be betrayed. There's a possibility that Ludin would bring people to seek revenge, and he could lose his life. He replied that he wouldn't do that. He argues that he sees him as a backstabbing scumbag. With that statement, Yi got an idea, and that is to turn a traitor like him to Qin Shaoshang. He'd definitely pay far more to punish his daughter's attacker, and by saving his daughter and capturing a traitor, he'd have the boss of Dragon Gate 3 streets owing him a personal favor. It's worth way more than 5 million. Ludin knew he'd be tortured to death in Shaoshang's hands, and the organization won't let his family go. If that's how it will be, he'd just use a crystal. Qingtian was surprised that he has a prison gate fragment. He told Yi that if that fragment gets destroyed, the Beast Realm will lose its only connection to the outside world. The portal will vanish, and they will be trapped in there forever. Ludin expressed that Yi had forced him to resort to that. A trail of light passes through Ludin's hand. It was Yi. He grabbed the fragment and stabbed the weak spot, which made Ludin yell out loud. His body got slashed all over. and he fell on the ground. After that, the core was pulled into Yi, which gives him a skill upgrade. Shadow Sense 2 became the ultimate Shadow Sense. A rumbling sound followed. Qingtian informed him that without the lava and Minotaur's energy keeping it stable, the Beast Realm is collapsing. At the Beast Abyss, exit. They made it out. The other players were talking about how it was terrifying and barely made it out. Qin expressed to Yi that she had no idea that he was that strong and way beyond E rank. She invited him to join Dragon Gate 3 Street since she's certain that her father would treat a fighter like him very well. Yi replied that he's not interested in joining any organization, and he requested her to keep his abilities a secret. She didn't push further, and instead she gave him his reward. Before he leaves, he asks her if Dragon Gate 3 Streets deals weapons like his sword. She inspected it and told him that she will need to take it back for appraisal and assured him that whatever it is worth, he'll get every penny. He's fine with that. He could tell that she's knowledgeable about weapons. If she got good eyes for it, he just found himself a buyer for all his gears. He's also fine if she turns out to be a cheapskate like Boss Wang. He's still not a losing end either since he had $1 million in his hand. Once he reached home, he inspected the prison gate fragment. He was curious about what it really was. Qingtian replied that as long as he has enough fragments, he can make his strength reach S rank, or even higher. The rank enticed him. With the prison gate fragments surfacing again, it made Qingtian question if those bastards are still out there. He knew he needed to speed up his recovery, and that kid was the key. He imagined that one day the kid will have to face things beyond human understanding. He contemplated if it's time to warn him already. Eventually, he decided that it was too soon and that it would just terrify the kid. He decided to let him get stronger first, at the NG Group E-Class Wraith Zone. The place was under lockdown due to the mining incident. Yi stood at the edge of the cliff and surveyed the area. He saw that there's 1 B-Class and 3 C-Class guards. He couldn't believe that they deployed that many advanced fighters to guard it. Just as he thought, with his current strength, there's no way for him to uncover the truth yet. Qingtian asked what was worth investigating on a lowly E-Class dimensional rift. He replied that his parents' death and the truth behind them are there. Back then, he was given 200,000 as compensation from the NG Group. He was encouraged to take the money and to sign a form to acknowledge that his parents' death was accidental. When he didn't move, the arrogant man asked him if it was not enough. He replied that he wants the truth. The man insists that there was an accident and his parents and the other miners died. But Yi refused to believe it since both of his parents are C-Class awakened. He wanted to go in and check, hoping that they were still alive. A large, muscular man grabbed him and informed him that anything can happen in a Wraith Zone, even C-Class can die. He argues that it was just an E-Class Wraith Zone, so Wraiths there shouldn't be stronger than E-Class. The man grabbed his collar and told him to behave. Yi argues that even if his parents were attacked, they could still make it out alive. The man got angry, thinking that he's just trying to extort more money. He was about to punch him. Suddenly, someone yelled, "Stop!" It was Ning Donghao, the chairman of NG Group, A-Class Awakened. Chairman Ning scolded his men because he gave them an order before to properly console the victim's family. He gave Yi additional money to help him get through his current troubles. Yi insists that he doesn't want the money since he just wants the truth. He promised him that they will investigate thoroughly and give him a proper explanation. Yi believed him and expected that the truth would come out soon. But instead, they framed his parents as thieves and handed him a bill for millions in damages. Qingtian commented that no matter what the race is, the weak are still oppressed. He advised him to gather more Rift Gate fragments so that once he's strong enough, uncovering the so-called truth will be as easy as saying it. Yi was silent, but Qingtian heard his thoughts. He blamed Qingtian's shadow energy for being unpredictable, leading him to be classified as E-Class. And he questioned him since he's saying that he will take over his body, but he's helping him level up. He questioned if he's good or bad. He thought that if he had proven that this guy was crazy, then his claim to raise him to S-Class would just be lunacy. Qingtian told him to stop, and expressed that if he didn't find any potential in him, then he wouldn't even bother with him. He replied that he hasn't said anything, but he's getting angry. It made him think of him as a lunatic even more. Suddenly, he received a mission invite. At Chemical Zone, a D-Class Wraith Zone. A man in a suit asked Yi why he was late. He replied that it was far, but the reality is he rushed there from another E-Class Wraith Zone. An old man recognized him. He greeted this man named Uncle Hao. Hao was happy to see him. It had been 5 years since it was Yi's parents' accident. The other men with them expressed that they thought they were waiting for someone important, and yet it turns out to be a deadbeat monster. These men who showed hostility towards him are Gu-er, Gu-san, and Gu-da, who are all mercenary and C-class awakened. The man in the suit explained that the mission involves mining and they didn't want to trouble the advanced fighters. Gu-er yelled at him to stop wasting time and just tell them the mission. The man in suit explained that the rift is a D-class wraith zone, and their task is to find ice crystal ore and mine 60 kilograms as samples. Meanwhile, Yi took notice that there are C-class awakeners for a D-class wraith zone. It was overkill. There was one guy in robe, his name is Heizi, also a mercenary and C-class awakened. From the bloodlust coming from them, Yi could tell that none of them are decent people. Plus, he can faintly sense another C-class presence inside the wraith zone. A man watched the entrance of the rift through his mobile phone. He uttered that all his toys had been gathered. It was time for him to begin the hunt. This person is Blood Leopard's second in command of the Black Leopard Gang. They entered the rift, and while walking, Hao asked Yi if he didn't need to wear a protective suit. Yi replied that there was no need because he's awake now and he can handle it. San commented that an ascended miner is a rare breed, or reminded him to mind his mouth because Yi was the king of trash heaps. Hao warned Yi not to mind them. Yi assured him that he's not reckless. Yi checked the area and noticed that the vegetation in there seems deliberately altered for hiding, and he felt a lurking, killing intent nearby. He saw something cross in front of him. In his head, this stalker could no longer hold back. He wondered if it will continue to hide in the shadows, or if he has other plans. San yelled at Yi to move his feet. Hao replied that they will speed up. Yi knew it was the perfect time to use the environment to shake them off and observe from the shadows. He grabbed Uncle Hao and told him to hold on tight. Doc complained that the miner was so fast, they yelled at him to stop. Told them that it's fine since those two are just pieces of trash, and if they leave them, they will be as good as dead. The red-haired man sat on a branch as he watched those Gu brothers. He wondered if the others sensed danger. He ran his mouth across his lip and thought that it was fine too, since if everyone was as dumb as those three, the game would be way too boring. Da told that he could tell something was off about the mission. Ever since they came in, they could feel that someone was watching them. Told them not to be paranoid. He told them that it was just a D-rank mission, and the three of them are C ranks, so they can handle it. San replied that he feels weird too, like a chill runs down his back. He suggested that they head back. Told him to stop panicking, but just as he said that, their eyes widened. San was attacked from behind, red strings wrapped around his head. He recognized Blood Leopard, told him to let him go and they can talk it out. Blood Leopard replied that they kept provoking their Black Leopard Gang over and over again. So there was nothing to talk about. He pulled the strings and that chopped San's body. Those two watched it happen. Da was engulfed with his anger and charges ahead. Tried to stop him. The red strings caught his fist, and his whole body was wrapped in strings. The strings cut through his skin, and eventually chopped his body. Was terrified, so he ran as fast as he could while Blood Leopard was in a frenzy since he liked fearful prey the most. Meanwhile, Yi and Hao rested for a bit. Hao asked him why he ditched those other awakened men. Yi inquired if he offended anyone or any faction recently. Hao replied that he's just a miner, so there's no way he would offend someone. He asked him why. Our MC revealed that the mission is a death trap, and someone wants all of them buried in that twisted place. Hao expressed that he's scared. Yi told him that if he knew something, he should tell him. Suddenly, appeared and yelled at Yi for not saying anything, even when he noticed something strange. He blamed him for the death of his brothers. Yi commented that wasn't useless at all, since he helped draw out the mastermind before he died. That statement angered him. He asked him what he said. Yi repeated what he said, that was about to die. Was surprised to be caught in red strings. Blood Leopard told Yi that he didn't expect him, a miner, to be that interesting. Yi had activated Ultimate Shadow Eye.
Thank you all for watching. Please watch this next Giga Chad video, and I'll see you guys next time. Also, support the channel by joining the Summon Club membership. You can also support by just liking the video and being awesome.